I had a little moment there where I was talking about Amazon planning to avoid hiring 600,000 U.S. workers by the year 2033. I was upset about it. I want to bring in Darren Kimura, who is the CEO and president of AI Squared. He first began his career as a founder, and he's president and CEO and building and exiting two technology companies. He's done a lot in his career. Darren, we want to thank you so much for your time and coming on with us today.
Oh, Tia, it's my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I was talking to someone else about this. It got me a little fired up when I saw how many U.S. workers may not have employment because of these robots. When it comes to the manufacturing sector and warehousing and deskless roles, that's a hard one to say. Should we be concerned as humans that these robots are going to take all of these jobs? Is this a concern that we should have?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I would say yes, it's a concern, but I think there's a lot of details that go under some of the statistics and the headlines. So, for example, let's kind of start with the Amazon 600,000 jobs report. So, if you kind of read into that, what they're talking about is Amazon has, based upon its current growth, the expectation to double its sales in the next 10 years. And based upon the amount of people that they have working in these factories today, they have an estimated amount of jobs that it would effectively have. Now, they're also deploying more and more robots, more and more artificial intelligence and additional technologies. And in doing so, they're able to reduce, a percentage of those jobs. So that 600,000 job number is actually not jobs that will be fired from the current Amazon workforce. It's actually jobs that will not need to be hired in the future. That's one thing to think about there. And I guess one more thing I guess I would mention there is also when those jobs are not hired in those areas where the robots are doing the work, there are other jobs that are being created. And that's what we've seen over time and what also I expect to happen here when this gets fully deployed.
Darren, we hear a lot from people in the AI space saying, hey, don't be scared of AI, learn AI, make sure that you're equipped for the changes that will happen within the workforce. I see something here you have in your write-up, you have upskill. Talk about upskilling and really what that means and what workers right now can do to prepare for this new wave of technology.
So first of all, I 100% believe that this is an opportunity for every single one of us to get a little bit smarter, a little bit more knowledgeable. I, for example, have chosen to go back to school and do a PhD in artificial intelligence because I recognize that this is a new field. It's based upon technologies and techniques that we had before, but not one that I was really that comfortable in. And I wanted to learn a lot more about it. So even I chose to go back and become upskilled. And that could mean a variety of different things. So in the case of robots, for example, which, Amazon already has over 1 million robots in their factories, that could be things like understanding on how to repair robots or how to program robots or how to make sure that they're operating efficiently, how to manage some of these AI technologies, these workflows, as we call them, all the way down to how do we build AI? Humans can bring in a variety of different elements that are not inherent upon AI today. For example, safety, security, ethics. And I think this is also inherently human. So this is something we have within us. Understanding how the technology works allows us to then bring our knowledge and our abilities to make sure that the technologies of tomorrow are going to be safer and better.
I like what you said there, even about your learning curve and how you went and learned this. Where do people start? Where do you suggest people that are in the workforce right now, maybe all they know is Chat GPT, right? Maybe that's as far as their knowledge goes. Where do you think they can go to learn more? Are we talking about a community college course? Where can you go to learn more about AI?
I think people will want to learn it in different ways. So learn it in the most effective way for you. It could even be as basic as watching TikTok shorts on AI and what is AI and how to code AI and what are agents and those as basic as that, or watching YouTube tutorials and how-tos on that. Start there. That's easy to consume. You're already doing it. Maybe just shift some of your time from whatever the latest fad is into learning. I think it can start as basic as that and work its way all the way up to things like you mentioned, community college, for example. It could be virtual learning. There's probably no shortage of 10 or 12 courses I've taken online for free on Coursera, that are available to anyone and everyone, offered by Stanford and MIT, just by you registering and spending a little bit of your time to do that. So you could kind of take it there all the way up to things like what I'm doing, going and finding a university that is curating content in the way that you want to learn, and really investing in that. So there's so many ways to learn. Finding a mentor. Large companies, Amazon is a good example. They actually have apprenticeship programs in robot training. So different organizations are also offering these kinds of upskilling opportunities for workers.
I love to hear that, because sometimes people feel like, I don't even know where to start. I feel left out. I'm not on this train. Let's talk about some of the positions in which you can work alongside AI and not fully be replaced as a human.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the positions that will definitely be replaced are going to be those kind of frontline roles where, if you ever had to return something to Amazon, and you engage with a chatbot, or maybe even pick up a call and go through a auto attendant phone interaction, like those roles, I think will definitely be replaced. Now, what happens as those are being replaced is that you need human supervisors. So, working alongside some of these technologies and supervising them, or coming up even with guardrails for them, that's where humans can directly oversee the deployment of these technologies today. As AI and robots become more prolific and get rolled out, it won't happen fast. I think that the deployments will take time. They typically start by small little pilots being deployed in small factories. And over the course of many months, perhaps even years, the software and the processes get tuned in. But all of that tuning, all of that observation, that recording, that feedback is human. So as a worker, can directly engage in that process. But then, even going fast forward more into the future, the 2033 type future, every one of these agentic systems, is what we call them, these artificial intelligence systems, are going to require human supervision. But in order for you to do that, you have to understand what these technologies are. So if you want those jobs, it's really important to understand how AI works and why it does things. And you can do that learning today, so you can prepare yourself for that management level of the future.
Darren, I want to get your perspective on this. AI for a lot of us is still like relatively new, right? We're still learning a lot about it, although it has existed for a little while now, and maybe it hadn't really trickled down into what we felt like was our everyday lives. But I want to ask you this: looking 5 years from now, we're talking 2030, looking 10 years from now, where do you see AI in our everyday lives in terms of in the workforce?
Yeah, that's a really tough question to answer, because if you just think back three years ago, ChatGPT wasn't even something most of us knew about. The company had existed, but we weren't really using it at that point yet. And look how far we've come in such a short period of time. If I were to just kind of put my best guess out there, I would say in 5 years, humans are working, to your earlier point, in parallel with AI and robots. We're working to supervise them. We're working on new ways to deploy them, but we're very engaged in the way that they work. I think in 10 years, we're probably going to see a scenario where you're going to have a fairly large deployment of most of these manual, repetitive tasks taken on by robots that have AI built into them. We call that physical AI. And then humans, in that sense, are now working on those robots, making them more efficient, more cost effective, building software for them, still developing the algorithms, figuring out what they should do. But these systems are now becoming smarter. They're beginning to learn and being able to predict a little bit more effectively about the future. And I think that will continue to happen as time goes on.
Darren, I've never had the opportunity to ask someone this, but in terms of jobs in AI, you mentioned some of those humans that are repairing AI or working on the robots, et cetera. Some people obviously on the software side of things. When it comes to those jobs, how much are we talking in terms of pay for some of these positions, maybe that people never thought about?
Well, pay probably has a lot of factors beyond the dollar per hour. It could also be related to, for example, where they are, level of involvement, education behind it. But I have seen, for example, situations where robot mechanics could get paid anywhere from 35 to $75 an hour. I've seen software programmers on a contract basis get paid, upwards of probably $300 an hour, maybe even more. And again, it depends on what level of the process, the logic that you're working at. So, sky's the limit. I mean, even if you just look at some of the more recent headlines, you're now seeing, astronomical packages going to technologists working for some of the largest companies in the world, like Meta, for example. So, it's fairly robust, I would say, salary wise right
Yeah.
now.
When it comes to really where these jobs are, because you did mention that, when I think of technology and where we've seen the jobs mostly in the past, a lot of those jobs have been out on the West Coast. Is that still the case?
I think from a software development and an artificial intelligence in the what we call the LLMs, like what ChatGPT is, you do see a lot of those roles currently on the West Coast, probably even more concentrated in Silicon Valley. But the factories are not there. The factories are everywhere. And the deployment of the technology, that's also everywhere. When it comes to robotics, I mean, robotics, frankly, is global. Japan is the leading manufacturer of robotics in the world. So this is a global phenomenon, and those developers, those people that are doing the coding, the people that are working on the sensors, they're everywhere too. They have to be where the factories are. So it's not in that sense just concentrated to the Silicon Valley area, but more of a global thing.